Good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're actually looking at this video. Welcome to the May video podcast for PPM. A lot of things have taken place over this last few weeks that we've created another podcast for you, and so we want to go over those things. First of all, remember we send out a newsletter. A lot of information, a lot of time put into letting you know a lot of what's happening with PPM, what's going on with American Heart Association, and what things are changing. And so we put a lot of that information into this newsletter, and yet we get calls from our instructors that ask the exact same question that was actually answered in the newsletter, which kind of tells me people aren't reading the newsletter. So again, we don't send these out like every day. We don't clog your email with tons of things to look at and read, and sales flyers and stuff like that. So we put this out. When we put this out, there's a lot of information. Please take a few minutes and read what's in there. What it deals with this past month or this month was an issue with replacing or repairing a card. When somebody calls in, an instructor calls in or a student calls in because they didn't get their card, because the email wasn't done right, because the name wasn't spelled right, that takes up our person's time on our end, and therefore we charge the instructor a $5 fee to handle that. And in some cases it could take us almost an hour to track stuff down because what the student doesn't know. And so $5 is actually a bargain with that, for us to take our time to do that. In many of these cases, the instructor, you, can handle these problems, and then it costs you nothing to fix. Now, the issue that just came up was a student didn't get their card. They didn't know who the instructor was that taught the class. So this is important. Make sure your students know who you are, especially if you want repeat business. They have to know who to let know that, hey, it's time to redo the class again. So make sure you get some business cards out to your people. Let them know who you are. Well, in typical fashion, that student called the Heart Association because they never got their card. Since we do roughly 40,000 people a year in CPR training, the Heart doesn't bother to look the student up because they, too, can look the student up, make the correction, and fix it. What they do is, you know what? PPM teaches so many people, the odds are you're with PPM. Here, just give them a call. We have at times where we've spent almost 2 hours trying to find the student, only to figure out in the very end of this is that not only did we not teach the student, they weren't with our training center, they were nowhere near us. So that's an issue with us, and we're going to correct that. But what happened was we assumed, which was bad on our part, that the student had contacted the instructor, and the instructor told them to call us. And so we billed the instructor for $5. When we found out the instructor knew nothing about this, the instructor could have corrected this and would have if she had only known that the student had a problem. We refunded her $5. So that was an issue that we're going to take up on our end. As far as when a student calls in, we're going to say, did you talk to your instructor? Did your instructor tell you to contact us? Okay, if that's the case, then you will be charged the $5 for us to fix something. If that wasn't the case, we're going to say to the student, you need to contact your instructor first, have your instructor fix the problem. Okay, so that should handle that. Along with those lines, to increase the number of folks that you are training, if your numbers are dropping off, here's some marketing tips. Remember that we do magnetic signs, stuff that you can stick on the side of your car that has your company name on it or talks about learn CPR, save a life, here's your phone number and stuff like that. T-shirts that you can either wear to your classes, have your students wear, give them out as a door prize, polos with your name and logo on it, pens, keychains, yard signs. These are all things that create marketing so the people ask you questions like, oh, you do CPR? I know somebody, or I need that, or my family should take that class. So it generates some talk, and that talk can turn into new students for you. Okay, just a thought, new ways to do things. I'd like to bring up the fact that John Stansfield has been with us for over 13 years now. He recently was recognized by and honored by the Knights of Columbus for Firefighter of the Year. That's a pretty special honor, and I'd like to take this few seconds here to say thanks, John, for all that you do, and thanks for what you provide for the citizens of our community, and the skills that you provide to that job, as well as teaching CPR for PPM. So thank you very, very much. We have an online presence. We'd like to remind everybody that ppmems.com is our website. We'd like you to go online, check it out, like us, so that we can generate more information on that. Along those same lines, many of you've been buying your cards for years now with our e-store. We are now working on a brand new e-store to make it easier to see the items, easier to buy stuff. One of our biggest complaints through the years has been with PayPal and how PayPal works and the confusion of how do you do. Well, we're fixing that because we're moving to Shopify, which is actually an online store, well established, quite a large group, that will work much better for us and much better for you. So now you won't have to worry about clicking this, clicking that, and many times in the past, PayPal has been down, so your card order doesn't get processed. It's just been one nightmare after the other. As well as our e-store does not do well with Outlook. Some of the other ones, it works primarily with Google Chrome, even has some problems with Foxfire and some of the other ones. So this one will operate on all levels. We don't have to worry about saying, well, don't use Explorer, don't use this. Okay? So keep that in mind. Coming soon. By the way, the new store's name will ppmcompanystore.com. So if you go to ppmcompanystore.com right now, you'll see a little thing come up and say opening soon. Okay, because we're in the process of putting all of our stuff on there. And as soon as we do, you can actually go to PPM Company Store. If you go to Uniform Embellishment, which is the old store, it will automatically redirect you to the new store. So even if you got the wrong address in, it'll correct you to the correct store that you're going to need to order your cards in the future. Okay? I'd like to bring up that you are a family. I really do mean that from the bottom of my heart. All of my instructors are like family to me. All roughly 600 of you, so it's a big family. Okay? With that said, if you've got questions on how to do something, it is better to call us, not the Heart Association. Now, the reason I say that is we do things certain ways we want our roster, certain way we want this. Heart Association is not a clue on how to do that. As well as remember that the person you're calling, their operator, I've lost track how many times their operators have given out wrong information. Okay? So don't call them first. Call us first. We'll probably have the answer. If for some reason it's really off the wall and we tell you to call Heart, that's a different story. But the bottom line, for most part, the operators in those phones are not even trained in CPR in many cases. They were the ones that not that long ago told me that the compression only was being done because we just blow bad air into the patients. We know that's not true. So again, these people in many cases are not even trained in CPR, don't know what the letters stand for. So when you call them, they're going to look something up and give you an answer, which in many cases is not the correct answer for your actual question. So call Kathy. Again, if you use our phone system, trigger for Kathy or the instructor questions, she can contact me anywhere in the world and ask me questions on my phone if I'm not here. So please call us first. We are going to offer an e-card workshop coming up. It's coming up on May the 25th at 3 p.m. right here at PPM. We've had some questions and we've had people that, sometimes we can explain stuff or you can read stuff and it just doesn't kind of grab you just right. So we're going to set some things up here laptop-wise. Bring your laptops with you. You can log into our network here and go online. We can show you from online what it looks like. We can actually work with you step by step with you physically doing, like sending an e-card or bringing e-cards in and seeing what it looks like. That way, kind of once you do something a couple times, it really kind of sinks in and you'll be able to handle it. As well as where things are many times what we look at as a training center, our screen shot is very different sometimes than what you're looking at on your laptop. So sometimes we'll say go to the upper right hand corner and actually on your screen it's on the upper left hand corner. So there is differences with how this stuff looks. So if you do have problems, questions, come on in on the 25th at 3 o'clock right here at PPM. And how do we know you're coming? Well, go to our website, the PPM website, ppmems.com. Look on the lower left-hand corner. You'll see a calendar there. Click on the calendar, and then scroll down to May the 25th, and you'll see this thing posted. And just go ahead and sign up so that we know you're coming. That way we can do a head count, make sure we got some refreshments and stuff here for the number of folks that we got coming, and make it an enjoyable afternoon so you can learn some issues with the e-cards that maybe you just aren't grasping at this point in time. Okay, that's pretty much everything for this month. As you know, if you got questions and stuff, let Kathy know so we can add them into our podcast. And again, thank you for watching the podcast, and see you again next month.